In the beginning, it was one God and no religion. Therefore, those of the land, prior to being labeled as black Hebrews, were simply Ethiopians. So imagine if Europeans did not label Ethiopians as Hebrews, it would be almost impossible for them to claim any inheritance of the land, considering they claim that they are Hebrews, but not Ethiopians. So let's read. The Ge'ez language is believed by scholars to be the oldest of all languages spoken in Ethiopian. The Ge'ez language is considered even older than the Hebrew language. In other words, prior to Hebrews, they were simply Ethiopians. So let's listen.
You are descended, Your Imperial Majesty, from King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
This is just our story, ancient story. The Queen of Sheba, she grew to visit Solomon, King Solomon. She met one son.
Notice David and Solomon is an Ethiopian story. But as he said, it's just a story. In other words, he's not a descendant of Solomon, for he's the root of David. And the root comes before the offspring. He's also considered the king of Zion, for the king of Ethiopia is actually the king of Zion. For Zion is just another name for Ethiopia, along with Abyssinia and Cush.
He became emperor on November 2nd, 1930, and was crowned Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, King of Zion, conquering.
Notice he's the king of Zion. So where's Zion? His foundation is in the holy mountains. Jehovah is more in love with the gates of Zion than with all the tabernacles of Jacob. Glorious things are being spoken about you, O city of the true God. Selah. For the Lord hath chosen Zion, he hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. So Ethiopia is where he chose to rest. For Ethiopia is just another name for Cush. So as you can clearly see, with Ethiopia, this man was born there. And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her. Another Bible would say, and of Zion it shall be said, this one and that man was born in her, in reference to the Father and the Son, God and Christ himself. So as you can clearly see, the Lord, Selah, has chosen Ethiopia as his foundation, which is just another name for Zion. So it says, are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, said the Lord? Have I not brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt? So where was Egypt? It seems that classical historians and geographers call the whole region from India to Egypt, both countries inclusive, by the name of Ethiopia. And in consequence, they regarded all dark-skinned and all black peoples who inhabited as Ethiopians. So you see, they weren't Hebrews, they were just Ethiopians. So if the Europeans were to just say, hey, I'm Ethiopian, then people would be like, hey, so you obviously weren't here. And you wasn't taken out of the land. You were placed in the land. So let's look.
For more than 40 years, Israel has controlled the West Bank.
We came to a land where there were other people living. But this land was promised to the Jewish nation by God. All the other people who live here will accept Jewish sovereignty in the promised land. This is the only...
You see, she was placed there. So let's read. Star Witness, an excerpt from Star Witness. Now they are proclaiming that blacks can be included within their antiquity, as if they could go underneath man's genealogy with total disregard to Amos 9 verse 7. Are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, which is just a part of ancient Egypt, and the Syrians from Ker, which is from Assyria, which is part of Iraq and Syria. Not the exact opposite way around. So even though history clearly shows that the locations of Egypt and Assyria are nowhere close to southeastern Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan, and most importantly, those Europeans were placed in that region compared to being taken out of it. Yet they still have the audacity to hijack biblical history. In other words, the true Israelites were taken out of the lands of Egypt, Iraq, and Syria, which is now known as the Middle East, compared to the part of land being allocated to them, which was obviously the case for the population of Europeans in 1948. In retrospect, that strategy was a slick way of attaching themselves to the history of the original civilians of the land while hiding their stink in plain sight, similar to when your sibling would put their smelly shoes right next to yours in the hallway. So when a guest comes over, they won't be able to differentiate whose sneakers have the place rancid. That's exactly what they do. They just mix and try to take over. So let's listen what's going to happen.
I will enter into judgment against them concerning my inheritance, my people Israel, for they scattered my people among the nations and divided up my land. They caused lots.
You notice the land was between Egypt and India. So who was in that land were all considered Ethiopians. Now they're trying to switch it up and say that's the Middle East while claiming it's the southwest part of Asia at the same time, which makes no sense. So as you can clearly see, from India to Egypt, that whole region was called Ethiopia, and India itself was called Eastern Ethiopia. That's why this is going to happen.
For my people and traded boys for prostitutes. They sold girls for wine that they might drink.
It was simply trade. Trading with people who want our gold or who want our slaves, and we want their guns, their gin, their rum, and their cloth, and so on.
Jagai.